You are listening to the Earplug Podcast Network.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Today with DW. Oh my God, that's not the Shadow. Who is that? That's Snacks. What's going on?
I'm back from vacation.
Yeah, well, somebody's not back from their vacation. Somebody's stuck somewhere. Where in the world is the Shadow? He will be back next week. Just to give everybody an update, his flight got canceled due to the storms and COVID. So it's not he didn't get the COVID. It's, I guess, the flights are restricted as far as how many people can sit on the flight, and with the storm they're doing a lot of redirects, so his closest flight, next flight, wouldn't be until Friday night. So
yeah, it's weird all over the place. I mean, we just went we went to the coast to Maine, and life is so much different. We've been going there for over 20 plus years as family, and we went there as my wife and then my daughter and everybody. We went, and it was just crazy because there's not a lot of people working right now or they're not working or they don't want to work. I have no idea, but we've become so dependent on the international employee that they just couldn't find anybody. So they were limited hours. You had to go to breakfast later or had to go earlier or something like that for lunch.
right. Yeah. Well, we know all too well about the international workers here up in Lake George. So this definitely got to hurt them. I mean, crap, they were coming for at least over 10, 12 years, if not longer, as far as that was concerned, as far as having them come in. I mean, let's be honest, on top of the fact of the $600 extra you get for unemployment, people didn't want to work even before that.
Well, not anymore. Not anymore. They're not. So it's definitely different.
Well, we haven't talked, and again, we apologize for not having last night's sports edition. We were all pumped. We actually had some sports to talk about, but Mr. Tom Greer did not have any power, and I think Mr. Tom Greer still has no power. He is based out of Long Island, so we decided to put.
Got to be twitching.
Yeah, he's definitely got to be twitching about something.
He's twitching. He's twitching about something.
So we delayed that, even though we had some good sports news. But we're going to talk a little bit later in the show about The Rock, the XFL, and some just minor sports stuff. And we'll save that for next week. It's funny, Hank. Last night we didn't do a show, and no major sports news came out an hour after our show. I'm like, what the hell is this crap? Every time we do a sports
major
edition,
came out.
No. Every time we do the sports edition, about an hour later, something major comes out. So, and we were like, okay, we're lucky. What's going on, Tracy? How are you?
They're on to us.
They may be. Maybe they're listening to us. What's going on, Tracy from The Mom Struggles Real? Check out her podcast over on your Plug Podcast Network.
I gotta say, I listened to that show the other day, and I was laughing the entire time. The one where it was you, her, and the other girl there from I don't know, the single.
Oh, Megan.
What was it? Megan. Oh my God. Yeah. I was in hysterics. I had my earbuds in and I'm over there. Everybody's trying to figure out what I'm laughing about. I'm laughing at you three talking and I'm going, oh my God, this is so hilarious.
That was the first ever podcast crossover with The Mom Struggles Real and Megan from Single and Surviving. So yeah. And Tracy says, thank you. So if you're joining us, it is the Wednesday edition. Now, Hank and I haven't really talked because Hank's been on vacation. So I got to ask you, Hank, since, the pop culture edition is Friday, but you're a collector. So did we get any good finds? Did you get anything? Well, I know your first stop's going to be the comic book shop.
We went there. I actually called ahead and let the guy know that's there that I was going to be stopping by. And we had gotten a late start because of some incidents at my daughter's house with her septic. And we got there late, so I didn't go there first thing, but the next day I got up in the morning, found out what time, actually called ahead again to see if they were going to be actually opening at 11. He said, well, we're open at 10, and I went right there. And I spend an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes in there, and it's nice to go in there and just search through, look up on the wall, see things that you don't see at your local hobby shops or comic book shops, and and I got some good stuff. I spent a little bit more than I probably should have, but I got some Defenders. Yes, it's my thing. But you know what? It's all I could be out drinking all the time, but I don't do that. So
now you're out buying comic books all the time.
Yeah, and I do it for my my childhood. I get the stuff that I had that I like to see as my childhood and try to get that back a little bit. As I get older, I'm trying to get a little bit of it back because I read them. I read a few of them and things like that. And everybody knows I'm a Hulk and I'm a Fantastic Four fan. So I'm always looking for stuff that has anything to do with that.
So if anybody's listening, if you got any Hulk or the Hank struggle is real. Yeah, that's the new podcast. The Hank struggle is real.
Yes.
Snap
and it is. It's like the kids all know. My kids all know the girls on a softball team. Like when we went to Myrtle Beach, they were sitting there laughing because they know that the first thing I'm looking for is comic book shop where the softball fields are.
Right.
Because I'll go after the games or in between the games. If I got an hour and a half.
That's usually what I end up doing too. Whenever I go on vacation,
it's
the first thing I look for is a comic book shop or a toy shop or something to find out, because I always like to go there as well and spend some money and support the local shops. It's funny because I haven't read books in a couple years, so now I'm going back and collecting some of the old stuff again that I didn't have, or sometimes even speculating at this time. When something comes out, like we've been speculating Moon Knight. Hellstrom just is coming out on Hulu, so we're trying to find that. So yeah, it's speculation, but as much as I'd buy it to say, oh, I'll flip it, I never flip it. So now I just have a bunch of comics but I got some that are worth some money.
And I buy a collection. Like I'll buy a group. If somebody's got a comic of, they got 20, 25 comics and they've got something in there that I need to fulfill my collection that I've got, or the run that I'm trying to finish, I'll grab them and I'll have the extras. And then I sit there, I'll get rid of them. But it's with the time that I have, which very little time, I haven't really had a chance to flip any of them. Eventually, I'll look at other avenues of doing things. We've talked about, you and I have talked about a couple different things.
Yep.
Locally. And, but my thing is that I don't need to get rid of them. I basically get all this stuff for my grandkids and my kids to hand it down to them and say, listen, this is something that was part of me that I liked as a child. People don't realize the $6 Million Man toys and the Evil Knievel and all that stuff. It was fun. And as a kid, and then now you sit there and you see it and you're like, oh my God, I wish I never blew that up.
Yeah. Right. Well, all my Star Wars, all my G.I. Joes that I've had, I'm like, oh my God, all the original shit. I mean, the Luke Skywalker had the double telescoping lightsaber. It's worth thousands of dollars right now. Welcome, Adam. How are you?
Adam's on the house. Remember the Seawolf, the G.I. Joe Seawolf submarine that you could submerge by pumping it? Well, I got one of those. I didn't even think I had it a week. I put a firecracker in there and said that it was going to be an explosion. I lit it on fire and set it under the pool, and boom! And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there. I go to my aunt. I go, my Seawolf's broke. She goes, well, what did you blow up in it?
That's funny. That is too funny. So, like I said, we'll have the Pop Culture Edition on Friday. Seth will not be here until next week. We will restructure. We were going to try to work Seth in to move the show to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, but we're going to see what Seth has got going on and if he's ready, and we'll figure that out. We might transition halfway through the week. We know everybody's been clamoring for us to go to 7 so they can actually watch the live show instead of just listening it through the audio, which, by the way, guys, thank you so much. Our audio listens are crazy. I mean, you guys are really helping us out here. And obviously, our sponsor, Body Armor, drinkbodyarmor.com. Visit the website for your nearest location for all their awesome sports drinks. They're ecstatic with what we're doing. You guys are really blowing us up. And this will be our 55th episode since March 8th. That's almost unheard of, going daily as much as we've done. And the sports edition is definitely really kicked off. But let's get into today's show. We got, like I said, when we come back, we're going to be talking The Rock. We're going to be talking a little bit of celebrity news, some birthdays, the more you know, and Drunk Drawer. So we'll be right back.
James Harden wouldn't go to the game wearing outdated fashion, so why would he choose an outdated sports drink?
I wouldn't.
He wouldn't. This is Body Armor. More natural, more electrolytes, better sports drink. Thanks, Gatorade. We'll take it from here.
Get some man! What the Rock is cooking!
Contrary to popular belief, football ain't fantasy. Football's reality. The reality here is that it's our turn to step it up. Together, we are going to bring the football team to Las Vegas.
So this is the next step in your global domination.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Wednesday edition of Today with DW. With that little intro in there, we'll get to the Rock's news. I just played a little bit of audio. Fiction is now imitating reality. As if you guys haven't known, that little audio clip is from HBO's The Ballers. Amazing show, 5 seasons. And it's obviously by Dwayne Johnson is the star, The Rock. And he is imitating real life in that show right now. How funny that this was a season 3 where he tries to bring in the Raiders to Las Vegas. And now he himself is buying a football franchise. So we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But we're going to start off with today's The More You Know. And here we go. 33 days until Labor Day. 87 days until Halloween. Are you a big Halloween guy, Hank?
I love Halloween. I do. I actually was known for sitting outside underneath a ghillie suit or something like that and like to scare the kids when they were coming up to get the candy.
Nice. We also got 113 days until Thanksgiving, 142 days until Christmas. Still too many goddamn days until 2021, 149 days. 237 days until St. Patrick's Day. Today is National Underwear Day. Usually we say thumbs up or thumbs down on this, so I really hope you're a thumbs up guy on National Underwear Day.
I'm a thumbs up.
Okay, good. We got some little facts here. The average American woman owns approximately 21 pairs of underwear. Approximately 10% of women own over 35 pair, and 14 pairs for special occasions. I wonder what those occasions are for. Trend analysis observed that a woman who wears a G-string is typically a woman who feels more uninhibited and more confident to display her body. And sexually, she is more willing to try different creative positions. That's good. That's good to know. So granny panties, if you date anybody with granny panties, it's not going to work out for you. So you might just move on. In 2008 survey revealed that 9% of men in America have underwear that is at least 10 years old. 15% own underwear that is between 5 and 9 years old. I am not in that market whatsoever. Every couple of years. No, I'm definitely not. No granny panties, she says. Exactly, Tracy. In Italy, women celebrate New Year's by wearing red underwear because it's considered lucky. I'll have to share that fact with some people. 5, men's briefs were invented in 1935. A contemporary magazine ad touted the briefs' scientific suspension and restful buoyancy. I'm not really sure what the hell that means. And lastly, single people are less likely to change their underwear on a daily basis than married people, 82% versus 88% respectively. Here's the question. Has anybody ever worn their underwear more than one day? I will admit, yes, I have. It just happens whether, raise your hand. I mean, it happens once in a while. What are you going to, if you're camping, or some people might have the walk of shame. They have to wear their underwear the next day. I mean, you never know. So, but
we used to. I'll tell you, my time in the Marine Corps, we had a contest once. We were out in the field for 30 days, and it was for paychecks. One week's paycheck, or one paycheck for every 2 weeks we got paid. So It was one paycheck on the line. Everybody that put in for it, it was who could go the longest without changing any attire or bathing.
What?
Yep. And I won't tell you who the winner was.
It was you. Yeah. Congratulations. Congratulations.
28 days. And let me tell you, it was bad.
Oh, my God.
I've never done it again.
It's also National Work Like a Dog Day. Now, not only are dogs hard workers, but they are also labor without getting paid, which is funny. Saying someone is working like a dog may mean that they are putting in a lot of effort and working tirelessly toward a project or goal. I don't think I've ever used that phrase, work like a dog. That's something I don't know. I lie like a dog, maybe.
Yeah. Or remember like an elephant. Is that what they say? I always
remember,
get corrected.
Yes. Memory like an elephant is also lastly, it's National Oyster Day. Are you thumbs up or thumbs down?
Yes.
No.
Oh,
no.
You probably haven't eaten them the right way.
It's snot in a shell.
It is not. Everybody says it's snot.
It's not. It's not, is it? I get the joke. It's not. No, it's snot in a shell. I can't stand it. Just a couple facts. There are over 100 species of oysters, and they are usually named after the body of water where they grow. Almost 2 billion pounds of oysters are consumed every year. Oyster farming cultivation can be traced back to the Roman times in England and France. One out of 10,000 oysters will produce a pearl. So Hank, you better start eating. So you better start.
I don't shuck them.
You don't shuck them.
No, they already come out.
I've seen people lose fingers shucking those things. So
yes.
Yeah, I'm not. The largest oyster producing body of water is located in Chesapeake Bay. Many oysters have both eggs and sperm in their reproductive organs, so technically they fertilize their own egg. That's a safe date. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Safe stuff right there.
I'm growing an oyster then because I had oysters this week.
And lastly, recently a team of researchers concluded that oysters are rich in rare amino acids that trigger increased levels of sex hormones. So the Greek myths may have it right that oysters are being an aphrodisiac. I don't know if that's true. I always thought that was a myth.
I
can
either confirm or deny that.
Today in history, 1914, the first electric traffic signal was installed at Lucid Avenue in East 105th Street in Cleveland, Ohio. 1918, World War I, the last German air raid on England occurs with 4 Zeppelin airships dropping bombs in the Midlands and Northeast England. 1924, Little Orphan Annie comic strip by Harold Gray is first published in the New York Daily News. Now, this strip lasts a long time. It's based off a 1985 poem called Little Orphan Annie by James Whitcomb Riley. The strip ended its syndication all over the U.S. on June 13th, 2010. 1926, Houdini stays in a coffin underwater for 1.5 hours before escaping. 1962, movie actress Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her home in Los Angeles. 1957, I think you even remember this, Hank. In 1957, American Bandstand premieres on network TV on ABC and pretty much brings on the icon Dick Clark, featuring the show featuring dancers, teenagers dancing to top 14 music introduced by Clark himself. At least one popular music act over the decades, running the gamut from Jerry Lee Lewis to Run DMC. Usually would appear in person. Get this though, to Limp Sync, one of their favorite singles. The show lasted until 1989. You ever watch the show?
What show's that?
American Bandstand.
I lost it there for a minute. American
American Bandstand.
I did not watch American Bandstand.
I did. I used to love it. And here's another one. 1971, WNPE TV Channel 16 in Watertown starts broadcasting the PBS, or Public Broadcasting Service Station. Now, this is a little bit different than your other channels because this is privately and government funded. So you really, the question was when I was researching this, is PBS still out there? And it is. The only way to receive it, though, is over the air television with a TV set that has an antenna or a digital tuner. If you don't have that, you won't be getting it really on any of your cable networks. I know a couple streaming networks have picked it up. I believe Sling tried to pick it up last year. I used to love it. some of the best shows that were around as a kid. Mr. Rogers came from there, Sesame Street, Doctor Who, Juliet Child, This Old House, and Electric Company. Now, I have a trivia question for you. What major star got his start on the Electric Company?
Oh, God. I don't know. There was a lot of people that were on there, and I'm not sure.
There's only one major star and one major superhero. I'll even give you that. Do you know who the first televised appearance superhero was?
On the Electric Company?
Yeah. How could you
costume?
not? Yes.
Spider-Man.
Yes.
Spider-Man.
All right. 1 out of 2. The other one is Morgan Freeman. He got his start.
Oh, yes. He was on Electric Company.
Yes, he was. And lastly, 1998, the American spinoff Whose Line Is It Anyway, starring Ryan Stiles, Colin Mirth, and Wayne Brady, debuts on ABC and is still going today. I love that show. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I love that show. Very funny. Today in celebrity birthdays, Lonnie Anderson, Pound Chickawawa, 75, WKRP in Cincinnati, Three's Company, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, major appearances, guest appearances on TV shows through the 80s. Really don't hear much of her right now. Obviously, she was married to Ryan Reynolds, Jesus Christ, Burt Reynolds. Marsha. Maureen McCormick turned 64 today. Actress Olivia Holt, 23. You might know her famously. Now, you might know her, Hank, from if you're a comic book fan, from Cloak and Dagger from the Freeform series, which sadly got canceled after season 2. She turns 23
Yes.
today. Television and film actor Jesse Williams, 39, best known for his role as Dr. Jackson Avery in ABC's television series Grey's Anatomy. He has also appeared in episodes of Law and Order and a recurring role in the series Beyond the Break. Oh, here we go. Director, screenwriter, Mr. James Gunn turns 54 today. His career started as a screenwriter in the mid-'80s. He then began working as a director, starting with the horror film Slither in 2006, and eventually moving, as that most directors do, moving to the superhero genre with Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, then the Suicide Squad. He also wrote and directed the web series James Gunn's PG Porn and the superhero film Super in 2010. And lastly, we got to something special here that I just have to get a little intro for, because everybody from the 80s, every boy from the 80s, I'll just give you a little quick one here. The hottie, the one who made a hood of a car look so hot, Tawny Katane, turns 59 today. And there you have it. Today's The More You Know. If you're just joining us, it is the Wednesday edition of Today with DW, and I have a special guest, Mr. Hank Snacks Pelton, my co-host from the Sports Edition. Welcome.
We weren't able with all that weather.
I know. Welcome, Fitz. Welcome, Phil. Welcome, Mr. Miner. I see he popped on really quick. Lauren, Tracy's still on, enjoying the show with us. Welcome. If you guys are listening to the podcast version of this, I am just talking with all the people that are joining us on our live stream, which you can find on the Earplug Podcast Facebook page and now on YouTube. We are streaming now on YouTube, so that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that, so we'll see how that goes. So I got to say, I mean, so were you a White Snake fan?
I was a White Snake fan, yeah.
I mean, who wasn't a fan of the big hair 80s bands? I mean, White Snake, I mean, obviously with Tawny Katane. I mean, if I just could, if that was streaming, I'd play that video over and over and over, and I'd probably have to change my underwear more than once. See, so that's good. See,
yeah. Well, that's why I used to have, my hair used to be down to my shoulders. So it wasn't very long until my father would come home from, the army and make me cut my hair.
He cut your hair? I mean, I can imagine what your hair looked like.
He was very persuasive financially to make it worth my while to cut my hair. So he paid me off.
He paid you off and then sent you to the military. He's like, I pay you. All right, goodbye.
No, he didn't send me. Me going in the Marine Corps I didn't want to go in the Army. So I went in the Marine Corps. I didn't want to be doing what my father had done, but I went in the military on my own.
Today's show is also brought to you by Adventure Family Fun Center in Queensbury, New York. They are family run and owned, so they know the importance of family fun with indoor, outdoor go-karts. I love those outdoor go-karts, laser tag, paintball, arcade games, and more. Adventure Family Fun Center is the place to be. They also know the current situation, how important being safe, and are meeting all the COVID-19 procedures and protocols so that your family has a safe and fun time this summer. Now, they are open now Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Now, just the go-karts are open. I want you to make sure that.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that everybody knows. Now, we went opening day. I took the Bond and I went opening day. I was told that we had to do it twice. So let me tell you, 5 minutes. Now, you're saying 5 minutes. That's not a long time. Let me tell you, it's a long 5 minutes. And it's funny because when we got out there the first time, we're the only one on the track. She had so much fun. She's like, we're winning. I'm like, we're the only ones on the track. So, yeah. And then we went around the second time with a bunch of people. But if you do, bring a group of family and friends. Bring your friends. Bring your family and go up there. If you go up to the counter, we have a special for you as a listener. Mention the code DWSE. That's DWSE. And you'll receive 6 go-kart tickets for $35. So that's $10 off the regular price. And like I said, the 5-minute rides are a long time. So you guys can all race together. You could stagger, whatever, however you want to do it. But again, DWSE, get 6 tickets for $35, which is $10 off the regular price. I want to go back.
He said he's had quite a few people that have been taking advantage of it. I mean, it's a very worthwhile advantage.
Awesome. Yeah, $10. And like I said, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. So hopefully soon, hopefully by the end of August, early September, we're going to have Tom from the Sports Edition come up, see if the Grindhouse guys are going to come up. We're going to try to do a grand opening at the studio, the original studio. And hopefully you guys, listeners and fans and whatnot, can come out and watch. You can race with us. We'll have to try to talk about doing something really special, maybe block off a couple hours just for us or whatever, and see what we can do up there and actually have like a tournament and see an elimination tournament, see who can win. I think that'd be kind of fun. But again, Adventure Family Fun. Visit adventurefamilyfun.com for more information. And like I said, if you have any questions, they're so helpful. They're there. They'll help you with everything. And we'll keep you up to date about having them open up all the inside activities, because I want to try the laser tag. I want to try the paintball. I think we want
to do the indoor go-karts.
Yes. Oh, yeah, the indoor go-karts. I want to see if Tom is as bad as he is on video games, if he can shoot around corners with paintball.
Yeah. They do have, I think they have a zombie hunter game up there.
Nice. Well, we'll have to put him up to the test with that one. So anyway, in the beginning, just after the break, we brought up a little bit of news of
what the Rock is cooking.
So if you haven't heard the news around the world, The Rock buys the XFL with his ex-wife, Danny Garcia, and Jerry Cardinal, founder and managing partner of Redbird Capital Partners. Now, they bought it for $15 million spread out 3 ways. Now, there's been a couple questions about this. Now, we know that it has failed through McMahon twice now, the 2.0. I guess I'll ask you. I mean, I watched it. I watched the first time it came around, Hank. I kind of enjoyed it. It was something different, different than your traditional football. I guess even probably different than your regular arena football, because this is not your traditional arena football too, correct?
Right. It's not. They've adjusted some of the rules so that you can do certain things that you normally couldn't do in any other league. That's why it's called the Extreme Football League.
Right. So
now that's what the XFL stood for. So
now it's much faster, and it seems more. I don't want to say more energetic play, but it's not a full football field, so it's definitely faster. The plays are faster. The rules are different. So even the first season was hard for me to kind of follow, because I'm thinking regular football rules, and they're not. So let's see what we got here. So in the statement, Garcia and Johnson teamed up with Jerry Cardinal, founder and managing partner, like I said, of Redbird Capital Partners, to submit a bid worth $15 million plus additional considerations for the league. According to the court documents, they submitted the only qualified bid. Now, they did this hours before it went up to auction. Assuming a bankruptcy judge proves it during a Thursday hearing, which will be tomorrow, Garcia will take over as the first woman to own an equal or major ownership stake in a major professional sports league in the United States. And I think that's pretty big. She's excited. She is The Rock's ex-wife, but she's also been his business manager since day one. So she's been handling all his finances since day one. The agreement ensures a future for the brand, but leaves plenty of questions regarding the timing and scale of football it will produce. After a day of reporting, let's run some of the questions that we have for the XFL 3.0. My question right off the bat, who's going to run the league? Right now, I mean, Dwayne, The Rock is going to be going back to movies soon, and he's one of the biggest movie stars right now. Him and Keanu Reeves seem to be killing the box office right now. Garcia said she was probably doing a lot of executive stuff with the organization, but she too has a lot of professional commitments, including TV and movie production. She's also a professional bodybuilder. Jerry Cardinal? I mean, he's running a total marketing business that he also represents Rock. So, who's going to be there? I mean, are they just going to be show? What do you think?
It's going to, they got to have the right person running it. Now, if The Rock's not going to have anything to do with it, except for being, a poster child, as I'm going to say. But if he's the tool, then he's got to run it. I mean, that's the thing. He's going to say what he wants to say on anything that goes on there, and make it happen. But again, you're dealing with different people. If they own the teams outright, or that there's ownership. It's an ownership group, then, you've got a lot of different opinions. People are going to come in there just like everything else in the world. They're going to come in there and they're going to change it. And if he doesn't like it, he's going to say, these are the stipulations for you to bring a team into the league. And if you don't like it, then don't bring it in there. Then he's got to go and try and find somebody that believes in those, the business plan, so to speak.
Right. In a statement, Garcia... Johnson's ex-wife Garcia said in a statement she expected all three to be heavily involved, but also provided strong endorsement for the executive team that former owner Vince McMahon built. That group was led by President and Chief Operating Officer Jeffrey Pollack, who was among a handful of XFL employees who were not laid off during the bankruptcy. Former Commissioner Oliver Luck, who, by the way, is suing McMahon for wrongful termination, is probably not going to return. Now, the other thing is, too, the majority, 95% of the employees of the XFL were laid off. So obviously these people are going back to work already or trying to find other jobs elsewhere. The other question is, are they going to return? That's the huge question right now is now you're going to have to staff it up. I'm not, how long is that going to take? I mean, they're looking, they're trying to they want to go a spring 2021 season. Now, with no staff, we don't even know about teams. We don't know what the players were doing at the time. That's going to be a really hard thing to pull off, considering we're going into August right now. Do you think you've
also got to take into consideration, when I was looking at this thing, is if they do it in the spring of 2021, we still don't know what's going on with college sports,
right? With
college football, and if they've got college football to contend with on Saturdays and Sundays. Because they're going to, again, you're going to have a season that's been, cut, spliced, and everything else put together. So they're going to have teams. You might have teams that play Saturdays and Sundays so that they can fit all these games in and televise them, because that's marketing money. I got news for you. The XFL, when it comes to that, they're not going to worry about the XFL when it comes to the NCAA.
Right. You think the XFL would have to do double headers like Major League Baseball is doing right now?
I don't think they're going to have to do double headers, but it's, again, if you're going to do it, you've got to pick a night that you're going to do it. A weeknight is not going to be a good night to do it. It's going to be your weekends, and the college football games are going to be on Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, and possibly Sundays, because they have to fit them in, because it's a shortened season. And how they do it.
Would they do more than one night like the NFL does? The NFL does Saturday, Sunday days and Monday night football. Do you think that's something that they would approach?
They would probably, I bet you they would approach the Monday night football and a Sunday night football and have it that way.
David Carter, leading sports industry analyst, has said But the pandemic could create a crowded marketplace this spring. Principle of this is where was that? And the challenge of scaling up the league after it was stripped to the studs is considerable. And nearly 1,000 former employees, including players, remain creditors in bankruptcy, as do hundreds of vendors who provided the league services, and they are unlikely to receive more than a portion of the money they're owed. So, like you said, David Carter even feels that whatever happens with COVID, we could have no sports, and then we're just going to be bombarded with sports.
You're not going to have enough time to watch all these sports. It's like you can't binge. You can't binge on sports because you can't, unless the pandemic comes back in the spring and they say, okay, it's only going to be sports. We're going to have sports on TV and everybody's going to stay home. I mean, when everybody was home, everybody was watching binge movies.
Right.
Right. We're not going to binge sports because if everything's shut down, it's going to be shut down.
What about locations? I mean, obviously we have college sports. Obviously, what happens with the professional sports? I mean, arenas and stadiums could be overused, I guess. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, we don't even know what the NFL is going to do right now as far as if they're going to bubble or not. They got time. It's very short, but they have time to come up with a plan. But again, this spring, I mean, who's going to play where and what? And again, what happens if COVID, and this is just a speculation, this is not fact. What if COVID does do another breakout into the winter and sets us all back? This could be very detrimental to the XFL because you can't plan anything.
And the other thing is that, so like you had the, is it Alliance or Allegiance football that we just had? That was out. So, they were playing in college stadiums. Well, if the college football is playing in the spring, it's all scheduling. If they do the scheduling the right way and market it the right way, they can make it work. But the NCAA is not going to give up time for the kids that are at college that they've been working on for the last year because the XFL is back together. And the other thing is, like you were talking about all these workers and players and things like that. What's the repercussions of them? Right now they're not going to come back to work till 2021, but they still got to get into the planning stages and get everything put together right now for the spring season. Right. When everything is just in limbo and unclear to everybody, as far as, spring sports and college and professional sports, they're canceling everything right now. Right. I mean, people are still canceling stuff in the spring for next year. Right. So it's going to be, it's a very tricky situation on how you do this. And, those players that didn't play, that were guaranteed those contracts, I mean, and they went bankrupt. You got to remember, you still have the XFL name to it. Just like with Arena Football. When Arena Football was out, it was AFL football, AFL 2, AFL 1. And, they had to shut down the league because there were still lawsuits out there from injuries and things like that from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that they were still, they file the paperwork, keep filing it. As long as they do what they're supposed to be doing, they still have that lawsuit against them. And they kept it open because, it was a bad situation for everybody.
Right. So I'm wondering if buying the XFL, if Rock is going to be held responsible for some stuff. Obviously, we know Locke is suing McMahon, obviously. And I mean, I personally think the man's a total a-hole. I mean, but again, he's a multimillionaire. He knows what he's doing. He's a good businessman, but I just think he's a total a-hole. The other. I'm pretty sure that
The Rock and his. All of his financials and his legal team, they've all looked into it to make sure that there was no repercussions to him.
I'm sure.
And making sure that he was safe in it. So if there's a lawsuit against McMahon, then that's against them. And it's the XFL.
Right. We'll find out on Thursday, but also can the league really pull off a season? Now, obviously they wanted to try to do a spring season, but Garcia, The Rock's ex-wife, had said, there are active conversations about what a 2021 season would look like, and she noted the success of bubble concepts in the NBA and the WNBA, among other leagues, and the NFL. The XFL had built a bubble plan for its 8 teams, so to be used either in the pandemic or at a cost-cutting measure, and it's a part of the intellectual property that would transfer to new owners. In that scenario, the teams would practice and play in a single city, probably without fans. So right off the bat, that's kind of smart. She said that they built a bubble plan before the pandemic. So they're already smart about trying to cut costs, and they're not going to be traveling all over the place, which leads me to believe that they are concerned about the players. They are concerned about the vendors and trying to take care of them and keeping it in one area. I think it's a good idea too, because as we know, it's failed. XFL and XFL 2.0 failed. Now, not sure really if the coronavirus had anything to do with the 2.0 failing or not, but I think it's a very smart move. Keep it in one city. You want to start franchising out, to other cities and other teams and whatnot, or other stadiums. I think that's a great idea. What do you think?
So they want to try and keep the XFL in one location.
Yeah, so they said the scenario, the teams would practice and play in a single city, probably without fans. Now that's post, but she did mention that they did have a bubble situation set up before the pandemic to keep everything in one city, which I think it's kind of smart, because you don't want to, put all your eggs. Well, that's kind of a bad analogy. Put all your eggs in one basket, because they're putting all their players in one city, but you don't want to grow too big. I'm not sure how the merchandising and how the teams work. You know better about that kind of stuff, where it might be better in a different bunch of cities.
I don't see, it's not like basketball where you've only got, I don't know what the roster sizes are in the NBA, but in football, your roster size is going to be dependent on what your needs are. So it could be anywhere from 45 to 53 players, like the NFL is 53. So that's a lot of players. And as somebody to do it, it depends on how many teams they want to go to. If they're going to try and do like 8 teams,
yep.
It may work, but again, you're talking about a large roster size. So
right.
You got to remember, eight teams is what, 400, almost 500 players. Then you've got staff, you got coaching staff, you've got administration, and then how are you going to market that? You can't market that to a city, because the cities, you're not playing in the city. So if you market it as an LA team that's playing in a bubble in another city, then I don't see it. I just don't see that working, that concept of it. If they were to go out and say that the team would go and bubble in the cities, but then you got to have, your travel. It comes down to how it looks. I mean, it sounds like a great concept and all, but I just don't see it.
So let me just play this again.
Contrary to popular belief, football ain't fantasy. Football's reality. The reality here is that it's our turn to step it up. Together, we are going to bring the football team to Las Vegas.
So that's my question, Hank. Now, this is from the Ballers HBO series. This was season 3, where Dwayne is looking to partner up to bring the Raiders to Vegas. How funny that real life or fiction imitates real life and vice versa. My question is, do you think he would bring the XFL only to Vegas? I'm putting this out there because this fiction is really mirroring his real life right now, and Vegas needs some money. Vegas needs some money for that, and I would think that would be the perfect stadium to do it. They've gotten a bad rap. Raiders got a bad rap.
I think the bubble concept that they're talking about, if that's what they're going to do and they do it in Vegas, then you've got to move all your teams out there. It's doable, because you could have somebody living 45 minutes away that they've got football fields that they can practice on outside and things like that. I've been to Vegas for, I was inducted in the Hall of Fame out there and for semi-pro football. And the thing is that I couldn't believe it. I've been to Vegas for Vegas, but then when I went and started driving around and going out, we had to drive 45 minutes. They've got multiple fields. So,
right.
Yeah, I see them doing that. But again, the bubble concept, you're going to try and keep all those people in there. It could be very difficult, but I could see it working, because now it's about gambling.
Right.
Now you've got, DraftKings and all that stuff. I'm not into a lot of that. FanDuel. I mean, and like I said, I don't gamble on games and stuff like that. I don't gamble unless I go to the casino, but as far as sports are concerned, would it work if they have 6 teams or 8 teams? I'm probably going to say that they would be better off if they had 6 teams in the XFL to start, and then started to take those franchises after 2021 and sell them off to different cities to do that.
Right.
Or find somebody that wants to be an owner and part of the ownership group of the XFL and have a franchise in their city. Then they can sit there and say, okay, we're going to name these guys the Seattle, whatever, and we're going to name these guys the New York, whatever. And then they're here, but they've already bought into the franchise to move them after the 2021 season.
So you bring up another good question. Why I'm saying Vegas, and after this, I'll let you see what city you think would be the best for them to move to. With Vegas, and like you're just saying, if a team, a Seattle or it's New York or whatever, buys a team and they name it whatever, what better place in Vegas to get your representation from all around all the other, the 7 other states? Obviously, there would be a Vegas team, 7 other states to Vegas. I mean, you would get better, I would assume, more ticket sales. There's more things to do. Obviously, it's gambling. It's Vegas. I mean, I think that was one of the major reasons why the Raiders, why a stadium was built for the Raiders. They felt that you're going to get more fans going there, probably more drunk fans and strippers, but you're going to get more fans going to Vegas than maybe any other city. And the city's worth millions, so that's why I'm thinking Vegas. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possible. It's not impossible. I'm putting it out there that it's going to be Vegas. I mean, what do you think? I mean, what do you think would be a better? Because we're centrally located and things like that. That is a very good fit for them. I mean, I wasn't aware of all that stuff with the Vegas thing, but, thinking around anywhere. I mean, you got Texas, which is not a good place to go right now.
No, not right now. It's not. But what I'm saying to you is that for the concept of trying to do it low key or low travel, and things like that, then Vegas would be a really good fit. And then you've got travel to get there. People will, like you said, people would fly in to watch the games and things like that. I don't think there's a lot of LA Raiders fans that are going to go out there. I watched a special the other night on it, and they're very, very bitter that, they moved this team. Guys that have been lifelong Raiders fans and just said, this is the end for me. It's just, when they left, that was the end. I was watching it. I think it was on HBO or something. They had it. And they were talking about the LA Raiders showing up these guys to get dressed up, the motivator and all these things. I mean, it was pretty cool. So I think the Vegas is a good fit for them as far as, the location of it and where people can travel, because your airfares are cheap. They're cheap anyway to go to Vegas because everybody wants you to go, and you get all kinds of things from the casinos saying, hey, come on, we know you were here last year. Come on back. So if you go out,
I look at it too. Let's say we're going to Vegas, the family's going to Vegas. We're all going for a trip, whatever. And it could be that not even thinking about the XFL. Okay, we're going to go here. We're going to we're going to gamble a little bit. We're going to see a couple shows. It could be that last minute. Hey, oh my God, the XFL's playing on Saturday. We're still here. We're not leaving until Sunday. Let's get tickets. I mean, I think that's another, I think would be a cool advantage of that. I mean, I don't see anywhere else where that would work. Again, this is total speculation, obviously coming from the series of Ballers on HBO. If you guys haven't watched this series, there's 5 seasons out. I wish there was a 6th season, but for some reason it's in limbo. I couldn't find any information why they didn't do a 6th season. It didn't end. They left it open, obviously, for another season. But The Rock is busy as hell. But I'll tell you what, if you haven't watched it, it's produced by Mark Wahlberg, who did Entourage. Now, if you're familiar with Entourage, it kind of give you behind the scenes of Mark Wahlberg's real life in a way of the Hollywood scene, how it was working with agents. One of the agents, the main agent, was based on Mark Wahlberg's real agent in real life. So there's always a little bit of truth in any fiction. And he did the same thing with Ballers. Dwayne Johnson is a retired football player due to injury. He is now working with national football players, their investments, managing their money, helping them get through. And the things that they do between him and the agents and what's going on and the deals, and how ironic it was, they used the Raiders in Las Vegas for this deal. it's pretty spot on. I mean, it's fiction, but if you really, really look into it, it's pretty cool. I mean, it gives you a little bit of insight. Obviously, it is fiction, but it really gives you
he's probably got a good rapport with Al Davis too, Jr. So I would not. I mean, as many times as probably The Rock has been to Vegas, he's probably good at. And Al Davis is a very smart businessman too. He'll sit there and say, "Hey, listen, it's right there. I've got it. If I can have something in the NFL, and then I can have something in the XFL in the springtime, and they've got a permanent team that's there, he's in."
Right. But like I said, they like even if it's just a team. Now, obviously, he owns the XFL. He couldn't own a team. Obviously, we're talking about bubbling the whole entire league in Vegas. That was my speculation. But at the same time, obviously, there would be a team there. Now, I'm not familiar with Vegas. I know they have the new field for the Raiders, but is there an actual arena there? I mean, is there like a hockey arena or indoor arena? That I'm not aware of.
You have the Vegas Kings.
Okay.
No, what is it? God, what's the Vegas
sport?
team?
What sport are you talking?
There's a new Vegas hockey.
Okay.
The Knights.
Okay,
right?
so that would work. Yep, that's the Vegas Knights. So that would work. So there you go. There's nothing to be built. It's already set to go. So even if you had one team there, now we'll go in and I'll finish off with I think
Marshawn Lynch actually had an arena team out there.
Oh, really? I'll have to look.
I think Marshawn Lynch went and after he retired the last time, I think he went and bought and started a arena team out there.
Nice. Okay. Well, we'll see what happens with those. But now, if you're an owner of the league, you can't be an owner of a team, can you?
It's an ownership group. That's the thing. He's part of the ownership group, but
right.
It's in his wife's name.
Yes.
So it could be, The Rock owning another.
Right.
You could have
the Vegas Bulls owned by The Rock.
Right. And you know what? He could. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, he could do that. He could do that or put a team in Miami and call them, the Bulls.
So lastly, we're going to end with this because obviously the deal's not finalized until tomorrow on Thursday. So the question has been put out there. Did McMahon just cut a deal with his friends? Now, McMahon admitted in a court deposition that he had given thought to retaining ownership through the bankruptcy process, but decided against it when the unsecured creditors committee accused him of rigging the sale. Johnson, of course, was a longtime employee of McMahon at the WWF and WWE. Garcia was married to Johnson during part of that time and has managed his business career throughout. She said Monday that she was involved in Johnson's WWE contract negotiation storylines and knew McMahon and his wife very well during that time. It's only human nature to ask whether, in a world of 7.8 billion people, it's entirely coincidental that two of the new XFL owners are longtime associates of the previous one. Many former XFL employees are among those asking the same questions. Why it's being asked is because the XFL has been stated to be worth over 20 mil, and he sold it for 15. So they are questioning the fact. The committee actually is, in fact, expressing concerns about the connection between McMahon, Johnson, and Garcia, and that the sale did not maximize the value of the league. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs of that and why somebody would get upset at that, because if McMahon's the sole owner, what does it matter what he sells it for? I mean, unless he's got bills he's got to pay or.
Right. The league stopped because of the COVID, correct?
Yes, that's what I would. Yes, this year, yes.
So it stopped because of the COVID. So you're not going to pay face value for something that is questionable about going back up.
Right.
And that's the thing. So if he got it for $15 million, he got a deal. And,
right.
I thought the same thing, as soon as, you told me that The Rock, you announced it to me and texted me and said that The Rock just bought the XFL. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. So, knowing how McMahon is as a businessman, that's just the move that everybody does it. People do that all the time. They sell it they'll sell a car to a friend and do all this other stuff. Right. And it's just the way it is. You're not going to stop it. So he got a good deal, and everybody's going to question it. But it comes down to he wanted it.
Right.
We all know what The Rock's background is. We know, what he does. He's a motivating guy. He does all that stuff. I watch some wrestling and all that stuff, but that's what he does. He motivates people. And that's the thing. People are talking about running for president. Well, he should have ran for president. Oh, okay. So we're going to have a WWE star or a WWF star or whatever in there. And
well, one was a governor. Wasn't it Jesse? What's his name?
Jesse was a governor, and actually, oh God, Lewis would know this right off the top of his head. Kane is the mayor of some place down in Kentucky or something like that. I wouldn't want to make him mad.
I wouldn't want to F with him.
Could you imagine going to a council meeting and all of a sudden he stands there and just looks at you like, I'm going to wring your neck.
You imagine having those community meetings and he actually uses his WWE intro music when he goes and sits on the table.
I think he would breathe at me the wrong way and I'd be like, uh-huh.
Oh my God.
You want to do that? Okay.
I'm excited for this. One, I'm a Rock fan anyway. Two, I think with what you're saying, obviously the XFL it's not scripted, it's not anything like that, but there's a lot of showmanship there. There's a lot of pizzazz. There's the way they announce the games. When I was talking with you when I started announcing for the Green Jackets last year, I was looking really at more of the arena football announcers, the XFL announcers. They make it fun for the fans. And if you don't know the rules, it's okay because you have the play-by-play guy, you have the color commentator, which would be me at the Green Jackets game, and they make it fun and entertaining. It's not, the standard, he run the play, first down, this and that. There's excitement there. It's WWE of football, and I think bringing The Rock, and obviously I think he's definitely going to be the spokesperson. If he doesn't start every football game,
The Rock is cooking.
I'll be shocked. So I think
I have a feeling that you're going to be doing that in the Green Jack games next year.
Can you smell what DW is cooking?
And I'm not shaving my head.
Right in the huddle. Right when you guys are in the huddle.
Well, the thing is that it's an entertainment. It's a game. The players are on the field. They play the game. But outside of that, it's an entertainment value. The fans are in the stands. They're not always going to sit. They're going to go and do something. They're going to get merchandise. They're going to get concessions. So you've got to do something that's in the you've seen it because you've been part of it. You've got to have stuff like the T-shirt cannon. I mean, we still talk about the time that it looked like the guy was trying to take out the kids in the stands. We still talk about it, Yes. And the thing is that if he does go to these games, it's an entertainment value. Wrestling is an entertainment. He's an entertainer. Yep. Okay. So he now has a football organization, a league of his own to do things and he knows because he was a football player. He played football in college. He knows all that stuff. He's an entertainer and a football. So now he can sit there and say, this is what I think we should do. I mean, that's what I can honestly say that's probably one of my things, as me playing for 12 years semi-pro football for the team that I grew up as a kid watching means a lot more to me because now I own the team. I had to do what I had. I've seen it go through its high times and low times. But I went out and I got the players that I needed to have when I first took over. I got the coaching staff, the guys on the coaching staff that I played with or whatever that I brought on. And then I put an entertainment value on the outside of it. So I had guys that wanted to do things like diamond digs and T-shirt can, toss out, things to make it fun for the people that are in the stands, the grandparents and the parents and the kids, and making it fun, making them run down the field and things like that. That's what you have to sell. You have to sell the entertainment value. I feel that The Rock is probably the right person to be doing that. But he has to do it. If he doesn't do it, as well as I do, you're a fan of The Rock. You're a bigger fan of The Rock than I am. Lewis is probably a much bigger fan of The Rock than we are. Mm-hmm. And, those are the guys that you want to attract. You want to attract from both worlds, the football world and the wrestling world, to come together to watch football.
but McMahon couldn't do that. So what? Obviously McMahon. I mean, I think you either love McMahon or hate McMahon. So, but with The Rock and his popularity, I think hopefully he can. I think he can save it. I think he can save it. I think it's going to take more than a year. I hope.
You hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head with the popularity thing, because you know what? McMahon is the owner of the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's the owner. He has played the bad guy more than he has the good guy, than the popular guy. He's only popular because he's the owner. The Rock started as a wrestler and got into the entertainment and became popular. And yes, he has been a bad guy, but not as much as McMahon has. McMahon has, and I don't know the guy. I only know what's going of him. But the thing is that he has made himself into such a bad person by perception from everybody that he now can't dig out of that. Right. So wherever he goes and does outside of the WWE, it's going to be scrutinized.
No, I agree with you. Lastly, we're going to talk about this because I wanted to talk about this with the spring football. Now, obviously, let's say COVID doesn't change a lot and affect it. We're still got an inundated amount of sports coming in the spring, but this is also positive. There are positive for playing spring football, most notably a potential influx of talent if college players opt out of the 2020 season or if it's canceled altogether. Those players could instead participate in the XFL and enter the 2021 NFL draft. Former West Virginia safety Kenny Robertson followed that route last spring, playing for the XFL's St. Louis Battlehawks, and then headed to NFL's North Panthers as a fifth-round draft choice. So this could give these players an option to get into the NFL. I mean, use it as a stepping stone to get into the NFL. Obviously, the play is different, the field's bigger, but it's basically still football.
You're not going to see college players go into a 1-year contract to play somewhere with the.
But if the season's canceled, you think even if the college season is canceled?
No, they're already talking about it. They're talking about players at redshirt. There's players that are already this year that are, putting their name into the ring for the NFL draft already.
Yep.
So, they're not going to take that risk of getting injured in a league that's just starting off, that has folded up twice and not have any kind of financial backing.
Right.
So, they're not going to risk it. If they're saying that they're going to be drafted in the NFL and they're going to be making this and they play in the NFL, if they're a high draft pick, they're good. I don't see high draft. You might see the guys that are questionable as far as wondering if they're going to be drafted or if they've got an agent or if they don't have an agent. You might see a lot of those guys do that for 1 year. But I don't see anybody that's in the top 3 days of drafting that's going to go and do that.
Right. Well, we'll see. I mean, you're probably right. I know that obviously with what's his name, Kenny Robinson. Obviously, he did follow that route, but whatever. There's options. I'm excited for it. I think I wouldn't want to. The problem is if you can't do it in the spring, you ain't gonna be able to do it until 2022. And so I think with all the money that's on the line, I think it's going to be a mad rush. And again, there's so many things up in the air with the COVID, other sports. What if let's put it this way. What if the NFL doesn't kick off? No pun intended. Or they push off and extend the season. Now we're getting to March. That's when their season starts. The XFL starts. That's what they projected they like to start. Or it could be amazing because let's say the NFL doesn't go through, NHL, NBA are kind of winding down. Now we have sports. They already know that the fans aren't going to be there, which is probably, I think, worse than any other sport, because when the fans are in an arena football or in the XFL, it's like you said, it's like WWE. They're mad they're crazy. There's signs, they're rooting and hollering. Yeah. And the players live off that. There's a lot of lost revenue there for tickets. So, I don't know what's going on behind doors. Maybe it's better to wait until 2022 to get your ticket sales, do your promotions, do a lot of lead up.
It's a tricky situation.
Yeah. It's very tricky, but I'm excited for it. I will definitely, when it starts up, I definitely will be a fan and a watcher. now that we have something. Hopefully I'll have something else to talk about that I know something about on the sports edition with Mr. Tom Greer and Snacks. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us on today's special morning edition. Apologize again for not having the sports edition last night. Mr. Tom Greer didn't have power, and there was some sketchy power going on where I was. So
we're just going to have that much more to talk about next week.
Yes, no kidding. It's going to be, you know what next week's going to be? I'm going to call it the Trash the Mets episode on next week's sports edition. Because I'm going to get my $20, Tom. I know you're listening. I know you'll be listening. I'm going to get my $20. I already got my $20 from the Shadow. I'm getting your money. You're not going to make it. And by the way, sports related, if baseball ends right now, Baltimore's in first place, Jack Celeste. You got a chance.
I think they're in second.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, they make the playoffs. I'm sorry. Yes, they're in second. But yes, they're in second. If it ends right now.
Yes.
The Mets, by the way, if it ends right now, not going to happen.
They're cellar dwellers.
Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for joining us on the special Today with DW Wednesday edition. We will be back tomorrow. And again, thank you to Body Armor. DrinkBodyArmor.com. Visit their website for the nearest location. Hank and I are going to be working on some stuff. We want to start giving away some product. We got some shirts we're going to give away. So we're going to come up with some contests for you guys. And that's all been brought to you by Body Armor. They've been awesome with us, and the guys over there are great. We can't wait. Now let's see if we can try to get a Body Armor team sponsorship for the XFL. I'm gonna call the Rock up when I get done, and I'll tell him what I'm smelling, and it's what I'm cooking, not what he's cooking. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much, Hank. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation. Found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.